This was the fastest growing city in the US just a couple years ago. Today, its home prices have fallen more than any other city in the country. So what is happening?
Remember when everyone said Austin is the next Silicon Valley?
So we moved during COVID. They would jokingly say, oh, don't bring California to Texas.
Tech companies were moving in. Elon Musk was tweeting about it. Property prices were going crazy. People called it the future of American innovation.
My rent was $1,800, so it almost tripled over the past 2 years.
Developers rushed in building skyscrapers, new homes and offices.
Bungalow and Container Bar were my favorite bars, and they're both just wiped out and they're construction war zones.
But now, layoffs and empty office spaces tell a different story.
Prices are falling, tech jobs are dying up, and a lot of people who moved here, they're rethinking it.
As tech is returning to work, people are starting to leave Austin.
I think there's a lot of people, even neighbors particularly, who are upside down.
When I talk to people and ask some why they've left Austin, the biggest reason I'm getting is this.
So what happened to Austin, Texas? And why did a city that looked unstoppable suddenly hit the brakes?
This is going to be the tallest building in all of Texas. It's getting ready to open, but if I was a developer, I would be freaking out right now because, as you can see, there's going to be 833,000 of total square feet. So during the pandemic, Austin became the place for tech workers escaping California. And the city was very appealing. I mean, if you think about it, Texas, or Austin especially, was a fun city. There wasn't a lot of COVID and regulations that you would see in California, like closed gyms or you must wear a mask in a grocery store. Also, no income tax and just a cheaper quality of life, cheaper apartment, cheaper housing. So you could start to see why this place was so appealing.
Not to mention warm weather, a weird artsy culture, and way cheaper than the Bay Area. Big names came fast. Tesla announced its Gigafactory near Austin in 2020. Oracle moved its headquarters from Redwood City to Austin. Dropbox, Palantir, and Apple all expanded their offices. VC money followed. In 2021, Austin-based startups raised almost $5 billion. That was up 200% from 2019. Home prices also insane. Median home value in Austin in January 2020 was just $325,000. By mid-2022, over $550,000. That's a 70% increase in just over 2 years. For a while, it felt like Austin had won the tech lottery.
Just a few years ago, tech companies were racing here to Austin to open up offices.
But then the cracks started to show. In late 2022 and throughout 2023, the tech industry slowed down. Interest rates rose, funding dried up, layoffs began. Nationwide, over 300,000 tech workers were laid off from 2022 to 2024. And Austin, as a growing tech hub, got hit hard. According to the Austin Chamber of Commerce, tech job postings fell 25% from 2022 to 2024. Companies paused hiring and some even pulled out. At the same time, the cost of living skyrocketed and the infrastructure couldn't keep up. People moved in, but the I-35 was a mess. There's no comprehensive metro system, and housing construction was delayed due to high materials costs. The dream started to feel off.
Right now, San Francisco and Austin are tied for having the most available office space. 27% of available office space is sitting empty in both of these cities. So now you can imagine when you're about to come to market with all of this space, who is going to be lining up for that space? It's going to be interesting.
In May 2022, median home prices were about $570,000, but by May 2024, they were just $435,000. That's a 23% drop in a couple years. And with the growth slowing down, that's bad news for developers who were banking on, well, crazy more growth.
There's not a lot of people that move to Austin that stay in Austin. They come in, get what they need to do, and then they kind of leave.
I think there was just this hump in how expensive things were, and it's finally finding its original level. I think it's still gonna crash because all of this is still finishing. So there's so much inventory that still hasn't been opened up yet.
Even worse, some neighborhoods saw price drops of over 30%, especially new builds in the suburbs that were bought during the peak frenzy. And it wasn't just prices, sales volume tanked too. Listings are staying on the market for over 70 days compared to just 18 days in 2021. A lot of people who bought at the top, well, they're stuck. Underwater mortgages are back in certain zip codes.
It was a lot cheaper to live in, and Austin was at the time at least, really cheap. My rent was $1,800, so it almost tripled over the past 2 years being there, and then the price of food's increased, the price of everything's gone up, and it's still very affordable now, and rent is dropping 40%.
Another big shift that's happening is the return to the office. So with more companies mandating their employees in the office at least a few days a week.
I think people just moved here thinking it wasn't going to be as hot as it was, and also I think the remote work trend is kind of dying and people are going back to where they were originally working from.
During the pandemic, Austin thrived because people thought remote work was here to stay. But since 2023, Google, Meta, and Apple have all all pushed return to office policies. So guess what? Many people who moved to Austin while working in San Francisco companies either had to move back or quit. Net migration of tech workers to Austin slowed by 40% between 2022 and 2024.
Even some of the companies that moved here left. So I think Meta was supposed to have like $1 billion lease in a new building. They dropped that.
And I know that Oracle used to be based out of Austin and now they're looking to be based out of Nashville. So I think a lot of tech companies as well aren't like picking Austin.
While the concept of remote work didn't die, the hype did, and Austin felt the burn.
When I talk to people and ask some why they've left Austin, the biggest reason I'm getting is this.
I think a lot of Californians and a lot of people from like outside of Texas moved here not thinking it was going to be it. Like you hear it like it's hot summers when it's like June, July, August, like it's 105 outside and you can't even like leave the house.
Another thing I learned here is this. A huge part of Austin's real estate boom was investors, not actual locals. By 2022, over 28% of homes sold in Austin were to investors. Hedge funds, Airbnb owners, and out-of-state landlords piled in. They treated Austin like the next Miami or Scottsdale, but when the Fed hiked interest rates, those investors calmed down. Airbnb profits shrank, many homes flooded the market. And with fewer real-end users buying, prices had to adjust. And that's a big reason why Austin's price correction was the steepest in the country.
Behind me is what's called Waterline Tower. This is going to be the tallest building in all of Texas. They started construction in 2022, anticipating a massive boom. The building will be ready in 2026.
Let's be clear, Austin didn't crash, it just kind of came back to earth. The population is still growing, though a lot slower, around 1.3% in 2024. That's down from 3% in 2021. Companies are still hiring and many have big campuses. Austin's job market is stable, unemployment is under 4%. But the idea that it would become a tech utopia overnight, well, that's no longer realistic. What Austin's going through is what many cities experience after a boom. It's a correction, a rebalancing, a reality check.
It's actually crazy how much Google I'm seeing. You have a massive Google logo at the top of that building, and it seems like a big part of that building is for Google, and then you just cross the street and you see way more Google stuff, the whole lobby, the logo. It's really fascinating here. It's really kind of intriguing to me because I don't see this much outside of New York or Silicon Valley.
So here's my lesson from all this. Boomtowns can bust. No matter how hot something seems, if the fundamentals aren't there, like the infrastructure and affordability and long-term growth, it won't last. Remote work isn't a forever guarantee. Basing your life on a Zoom job might be the safest long-term move. Don't buy real estate during FOMO. If you bought a $600,000 home in Austin in 2022, that might be worth $470,000 now. Ouch. And cities are more than just trends. Awesome is still awesome. Music, food, lifestyle, it's all still there, but the hype cycle is pretty much over.
Waterline represents the peak of Austin's boom, but will it also represent a sign of its crash? Some experts say these developments, especially the luxury ones, are too much too fast, and that the demand is just not going to keep up with all of this new supply.
The last few years have been a reminder that real growth takes time.
Austin's a creative city, so it does attract sort of people who like to migrate for periods of time, do something, and then they kind of head out.
I think the only thing keeping Austin from being just as good as LA or just as good as like one of the SoCal cities is just the fact that it gets scorching hot for like 6 months out of the year.
It's very much the Texas attitude is, if you dream it, do it. There's the Texas outlaw spirit is still pretty strong.
This city is still evolving, but the so to speak gold rush is probably over. So is Austin's boom over, or is this just a correction? Will things kind of settle themselves out in the next couple years? I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments below. While you're at it, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one at Uptin.